The 2024 Formula One season has officially begun, and like everyone had expected, Max Verstappen has dominated, and he will probably continue to dominate. So we can expect a pretty boring F1 season. What wasn't boring is the fact that all these new teams got to display their brand new liveries for the season. And in this video, we're going to be ranking those liveries from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. I did that again. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Car Rant. My name is John. If you guys are new to the channel, we do builds, we do reviews, and we have candid conversations about cars. So if any of that interests you guys at all, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. With every racing series, there's a lot of things to expect. You're expecting to see fast cars, you're expecting to see crashes, drama. But what makes a race car, obviously the racing part of the car, the engine and the suspension, all the cool stuff, is a good paint job. The paint job says everything about the car. Paint job says who your sponsor is, it says who you're endorsed by, and it also says what your brand is, and that's what you're doing. You're displaying your brand. There's a lot of carbon fiber in this video, let's just say that, because a lot of these teams in Formula One have resorted to using carbon fiber in their paint schemes, and honestly, it's kind of boring. Now, my absolute least favorite livery of the year has to be the Kick Sauber F1 team. You had Alfa Romeo last year as a sponsor, you had the cool scheme with the red and the black, and it just looked really cool. It was a sharp car. From what I'm seeing here, there's not much to say. It's carbon fiber and neon green. This car, in my opinion, gives me a lot of Tron vibes, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, it also looks like a highlighter. And frankly, the design language that they're using here with these oddly moving lines and stuff like that, it's not a good looking car. It's kind of an eyesore in my opinion. Like number 10 with all the carbon fiber, number 9 is exactly the same thing, and I'm giving number 9 to Alpine. Alpine, what are y'all doing? Last year you had a colorful livery presenting the blue and the pink obviously representing the BWT sponsorship that you guys have. It was a colorful car, and honestly, I loved the all pink car from last year. And looking at this car for this year, what are y'all doing with the carbon fiber, man? I'm like, put some color into the car, show what you guys are about. I'm seeing more carbon fiber and more black accents on this car than the blue or the pink. The livery really shows how you guys are doing in performance as well, because with an ugly livery, they also have a really ugly performing car this year. So I really can't say much else about this car other than the car, y'all need to relax with the carbon fiber. In my number 8, I am gonna get a ton of hate for this one, because when this particular livery dropped, a lot of people loved it, and I'm just gonna say it, I absolutely hate how this particular livery looks. It's Mercedes. I'm sorry. You can attack me in the comments. I honestly do not like how the Mercedes car looks this year. The thing about Mercedes that I liked when they had their liveries is you had the either all black car, you had the stealthed out look. It looked really cool, right? You had the 2020 car, which is infamous for its DAS system and all that stuff, and the fact that it dominated that year. That had the full stealth black. Everything was super cool. It was a menacing looking car. Or before that, you had the all silver car, right? And it was to represent, you know, the silver arrows and the colors of Mercedes, and you had the teal and stuff. In this particular livery, they decided to combine the two, right? They combined the stealth black look with the silver, and honestly, it's a cool concept of having that silver at the front fade into the black in the back. You have the Ineos red on the air duct, which that's a classic look for Mercedes. That's not going away, and honestly, I actually really like having the red Ineos there. Is it better looking than last year's car? I don't think so. I really love the all black that they did with that car, as well as doing the Mercedes stars on the side, which they did for this car, but again, I don't like how I like the idea, but I don't like how they went about doing it, and that's why the car's at number 8. Now at number 7, I'm just gonna say it, it's Red Bull. They don't change anything, and instead of trying a little something new, or at least trying to change your design a little bit, it's the same car. It's the same exact looking, in terms of paint scheme, car. And I get it, Red Bull is an iconic design, but I would like to see y'all do a little bit more. We look the past years of that car, they did a lot of really cool liveries that were all different. And now, ever since, the 2020s, it's been the same yellow nose, yellow air duct, navy blue. It's the same design, it's the same look every single year. So that's honestly why they get number 7. I think it's a really cool design. I hate how they don't change anything about it, and that's why I put it at number 7. Or 7. I put it at 7. Now at number 6, I have Haas. That's right, I have one of the slowest cars on the grid at number 6. Haas has had so many liveries that have been almost too basic, right? You go to, let's go to 2021, right? They did the Russian sponsorship in 2021, Russian flag themed everything on that car. So that was honestly, it almost seems sacrilegious having an American car with Russian paint schemes on it. That car I think was okay considering the sponsorship and all that stuff. Then you get to 2022. They pulled the sponsor. They decided not to have that sponsor anymore. And what did that result in? It resulted in a white car with red Haas lettering on it. It was it was almost too basic of a car. 2023 happens. They start to incorporate more red. You start to see a little bit more of that car come out. You start to see more of the black come into play with that Haas car. Well, I think they found the livery that works this year, and honestly, I love how they did it. They went with honestly an older style of Haas car. If you go back in their liveries with the old body styles, you actually see this a little bit. You see now their car is predominantly more black with, and I love this, you have the big Haas all along that side pod, which honestly, it just, I don't know, it makes the side pod look mean. I don't know what it is about it, but this car looks aggressive, it looks sleek, and honestly, black on a car too, you can't go wrong with it because honestly, it just makes the car look shiny and sleek. They're incorporating a little bit less red this time, which means it's more of an accent color, and I like that. They're using less white, which I like. Haas went from an all-white car to an all-black car, and honestly, black on a race car just looks fantastic, and it represents their colors really well. So that's my number 6. Okay, now we're getting into the liveries that I actually really like. And at number 5, I have Aston Martin. You might say, well, John, you put Red Bull really low on your list because the car looks exactly the same as it always has. And who's to say that, why are you putting Aston Martin higher when they do the exact same thing? Yes, I get it. Red Bull has an iconic design and they're trying to make that their design. The thing with Aston Martin is they have that green. That green has always been iconic throughout history. You buy an Aston Martin and chances are you're gonna buy it in silver because of James Bond and the DBS, or you're going to buy it in a British racing green. Now, the thing that I wish Aston Martin did, and this is honestly an idea that I kind of want them to run with, I wish they would, but it would be really cool if you had like a set of Aston Martin, like silver Aston Martin wings go down the side of the car. That would be actually really cool and a really cool design piece to put on that green to differentiate or to give it a little bit more contrast between the two colors. This year's green, it's a sharp metallic green. They're using yellow accents. They're using more white as opposed to using that yellow. Again, it's a classic design that won't go away. And as opposed to Red Bull, green has always been their color. It's gonna continue to be their color. I just think, for them to go even higher on this list, you had to do a little bit more. Now at number 4, I have Williams. And honestly, this one is really simple as well. It's almost the same car, right? If you look at last year's car, I think last year's car looked better. If I was to put last year's car on this list, I'd probably put it up even higher. There's 3 things I like about this car. First and foremost, they didn't use too much carbon fiber. And unlike other teams have, Alpine, Stake, Sauber, Kick, whatever you guys are. Anyways, they didn't go for that crazy carbon look. They did that, I believe I want to say in 2022, they went for a lot of carbon fiber, and I wasn't a fan of it. My second favorite thing I like about this livery is you get 2 tones of blue, which they did already, but now it's a little bit more drastic. You have a really dark navy blue and a brighter royal blue on this car, which I really like. And then obviously, they got the Duracell airbox thing on the top. That thing is sick, okay? That is the best way. In my opinion, that Duracell thing on the top is the best expression of how to show off your sponsorship. And honestly, It works. That's why, honestly, that little battery thing on the top of the car is my favorite. Is honestly, that's why the car's number 4. But now we're getting into the good stuff. And honestly, these are the teams I've seen make more drastic changes than others. Number 3, I have Visa, Cash App, Red Bull, formerly known as AlphaTauri. But Visa, Cash App, Red Bull, we're gonna call them V-Carb because I do not wanna call them Visa, Cash App, Red Bull all the time. That's disgusting. I hate the name. I hate the name, but I don't hate the livery. And here's why. I love how they went back to the Toro Rosso colors. They went back to that bright metallic blue. They went back to using more of the white and the red. They incorporated so much of the old Toro Rosso liveries before they became AlphaTauri, and I just love how they made a tribute to that. And even if that wasn't what they were trying to do, it sure looks like that's what they were trying to do. And honestly, it's the fact that they went back to their roots and made a livery that, honestly, it's a really great tribute to what that car was back when Toro Rosso was a team. It was such a good looking livery back then. Not saying AlphaTauri's liveries didn't look good, but I gotta say, this car looks really good, again, in my opinion. And honestly, it's a good way to show off Red Bull without it being Red Bull colors. So yeah, I got McLaren at number 2. That's right. And honestly, it's because they got rid of the blue and they went straight for just the orange and black livery. My favorite liveries from McLaren last season were the ones where they didn't have that stupid blue. And I understand, it was an iconic color for that team. They incorporated blue so much into that car for the past couple of years. You had it where they had the Google Chrome sponsorship. You saw them put the chrome dome on the top of the airbox, and that looks so cool, right? That was such a cool looking car. Or when they did the Triple Crown livery, that honestly, that was such a good looking livery, and that was probably one of the best one-off liveries that they did. This year, they went orange and black. That's it. No blue. The blue is gone. Praise God. I hated the blue on the car. I just think it stuck out like a sore thumb. Now that they went with that orange and black, it looks fantastic, and they still have the Google Chrome hubcaps, which is again a big plus. So big step up for McLaren, and honestly, in my opinion, it's one of the bigger jumps in liveries besides like Visa, Cash App, Red Bull. Visa, Cash App, Red Bull. And that takes me to number 1. And who do I have at number 1? I have Ferrari. Not to say that isn't a traditional livery. That's a traditional livery. The day Ferrari makes like a white or a black car, or even like a yellow car, that'll be the day where just everything has gone wrong. It can't be a Ferrari if it's not red. And honestly, what they did with this car were small, minute changes, but it just made a world of difference. They incorporated way more red than last year, which honestly, it's a better look. You can't have too much of, people say that you can't have too much of something. Well, Ferrari, you can't have too much of the red on your car. And they were able to separate that red by using just a tiny bit of white pinstriping as well as a little bit of yellow pinstriping. And honestly, this car just looks good. From every angle, this car just looks good. What I think Ferrari did is they simply evolved what they had and they made it look even better. And honestly, this was a car I couldn't stop looking at, and that's why I have it at number 1, is this car just looks so stinking good. And honestly, it was really good to see that car on the podium in P3 with Carlos Sainz, a smooth operator. But yes, this car, you can't stop looking at this car and you can't prove me wrong, or you can't tell me otherwise, because this is just such a good looking car. It demands a presence. It's exactly what it does. And that's why I have it at number 1. So, tell me what you guys think. Do you think that the excessive use of carbon fiber with some of these teams is a little overdone and uncalled for? Do you think that the stupid highlighter looking car from Sauber, is it really that bad to you guys? Or is it, is it better than the worst livery on the grid? Let me know in the comments, and catch us in the next video. We love y'all. Peace out.